Welcome to Life Stories, where every tale uncovers the profound lessons hidden in everyday experiences. Today, we dive into the gripping journey of Emily, a seemingly invisible janitor at a high-powered consulting firm. But beneath her humble role lies an untold truth that will challenge perceptions and restore justice in the most unexpected ways. This story is about resilience, leadership, and the transformative power of standing up for what's right. Subscribe now and join us as we begin this inspiring story. Don't miss a moment, hit the bell to stay updated on Life Stories. The skyline of Chicago shimmered as dawn broke, a mix of steel and glass catching the faint light of the morning sun. Beneath the towering structures that defined the city's success, Harper Consulting buzzed with quiet anticipation. Inside its expansive lobby, polished marble floors gleamed under soft lights, a space designed to impress its high-profile clients. But for Emily Harper, the founder of it all, it had become a place she barely recognized. Years of stepping back from daily operations had turned her dream into a distant memory, replaced by stories of arrogance and corruption that didn't align with her values. Emily walked through the lobby unnoticed, clad in a navy blue uniform that masked her true identity. With her hair tied back and a cleaning cart in tow, she blended seamlessly into the backdrop of bustling activity. Few glanced her way, and none lingered long enough to see past the surface. For Emily, this anonymity was deliberate. She wanted to witness the truth, how the company she had built from scratch had strayed so far from the principles she once held dear. Her first days as a janitor were eye-opening. The high-rise offices were a mix of efficiency and excess, with senior executives housed in sprawling glass-walled rooms while junior employees shared cramped desks. The disparity wasn't new to her, but the condescending attitudes that accompanied it left a bitter taste. At the center of this culture was Ryan Douglas, the CEO she had once trusted to lead with integrity. Ryan was the kind of man who turned heads, not just for his tailored suits and sharp jawline but for the air of authority he carried. Yet beneath his polished exterior was a man whose arrogance poisoned the workplace. Emily observed how he belittled junior consultants, dismissed admin staff, and ignored anyone who couldn't advance his career. He treated the lower-ranking employees with an indifference that bordered on disdain. Monica Hayes, the chief strategy officer, wasn't much better. She was the embodiment of calculated ambition, treating those beneath her as obstacles rather than contributors. On more than one occasion, Emily overheard her making snide remarks about the cleaning staff, referring to them as necessary inconveniences. Once, while mopping a hallway near Ryan's office, Emily caught a conversation that solidified her resolve. "I don't see why we need such a large janitorial staff," Monica said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Honestly, they're barely competent. It's embarrassing for a firm like ours." Ryan chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "They're lucky we give them a paycheck. Anyone can push a mop. If they don't like it, we'll find replacements." Emily felt a pang of anger but kept her composure. These weren't just idle complaints, they reflected a deeper rot that had taken hold of the company's culture. How could a business built on collaboration and respect have become so heartless? Over time, Emily's quiet observations revealed more than just arrogance. Ryan had a way of pushing boundaries, particularly with women. At first, his comments to her seemed innocuous compliments on her work, a polite inquiry about her day, but they quickly turned unsettling. He lingered too long when he spoke to her, his eyes scanning her in a way that made her feel exposed. His tone shifted from professional to patronizing, then to something far more sinister. "Ella," he said one morning, using the name on her badge, "you're too pretty to be scrubbing floors. A woman like you deserves better." He smirked, leaning closer than necessary. "If you want, I can help you find a better position. Something more fitting." Emily's stomach churned, but she forced a smile. "I'm happy where I am," she replied evenly, keeping her tone polite but firm. Ryan wasn't deterred. Over the next few days, his comments became bolder. his tone darker. He began to corner her in hallways, his words laced with unspoken threats. Emily's patience wore thin, but she knew she couldn't act on impulse. She needed to expose not just Ryan's behavior but the entire toxic culture that enabled it. One evening, as she finished cleaning the executive floor, Ryan followed her to the parking garage. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows that made the space feel colder. He blocked her path, his voice low and predatory. "You work hard, Ella," he began, his tone dripping with faux concern. "But hard work isn't always enough. You need someone to look out for you. Someone like me." Emily's heart pounded, a mix of fear and anger surging through her. "I don't need your help," she said, her voice steady despite the tension in her chest. Ryan's smirk widened, his confidence unshaken. "Don't be difficult. I'm offering you a way out. Otherwise," he let the words hang, his meaning unmistakable. For a moment, Emily froze, the weight of his threat settling over her. Then, with a calm she didn't fully feel, she met his gaze and said, "Be careful, Ryan. You don't know who you're messing with." His laughter echoed in the garage as she walked away, but she didn't look back. Her resolve was set. It was time to reclaim her company not just for herself, but for every person who had been made to feel small by those in power. The next morning, Emily entered the building with a renewed sense of purpose. She still wore the navy uniform, still pushed the cleaning cart, but her mind was racing with plans. Her patience had reached its limit, and it was time to act. But first, she needed to ensure she had all the pieces in place. Emily started her day on the executive floor, carefully observing the flow of activity. Ryan was his usual self, barking orders and dismissing ideas from junior staff without a second thought. Monica Hayes strutted through the office, her stiletto heels clicking against the polished floors, barking instructions as if she were commanding an army. Emily watched, her movements deliberate, her presence unnoticed. It amazed her how easily people revealed their true selves when they believed no one important was watching. She observed Ryan holding a meeting with a team of junior consultants. His tone was sharp, laced with barely concealed condescension. When a young associate nervously presented an idea for a client strategy, Ryan leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Is that really your best idea?" he sneered. "Because if it is, I'm not sure you belong here." The associate's face flushed with embarrassment, and they stammered an apology. Emily clenched her jaw, forcing herself to stay calm. She knew the humiliation didn't stop there. Ryan thrived on power, and he wielded it like a weapon. Later that afternoon, while Monica was busy berating an assistant for a scheduling error, Emily quietly slipped into Ryan's office. The space was a shrine to his ego, with awards, plaques, and framed photos of him shaking hands with various CEOs lining the walls. She approached his desk, her eyes scanning the cluttered surface. Among the papers, she spotted a folder marked confidential. It wasn't snooping, it was reconnaissance. Emily had built this company, and she had every right to know what was happening within it. Inside the folder were documents detailing questionable expense reports and suspicious offshore accounts. Emily's heart sank as she realized the extent of Ryan's corruption. He wasn't just toxic, he was stealing from the company. Quietly, she photographed the pages with her phone and returned them to their original position. She couldn't confront him yet, but this evidence would be crucial. Her plan began to take shape that evening. Sitting at her small apartment's kitchen table, Emily reviewed everything she had gathered: employee complaints, overheard conversations, and now the financial discrepancies. It was clear that Ryan and Monica's behavior extended beyond arrogance. They were undermining the company's integrity and its people. She couldn't allow it to continue. The next day, Emily arrived at the office earlier than usual, dressed not as a janitor but in the sharp, tailored suit she hadn't worn in years. Her transformation was striking. Gone were the simple uniform and cleaning cart. In their place was a woman who exuded authority. She walked through the lobby with purpose, turning heads as employees whispered among themselves, unsure of who she was. By the time she reached the executive floor, word had spread. Ryan and Monica were in the boardroom, preparing for a presentation. When Emily entered, their confusion quickly turned to disbelief as she made her way to the head of the table. Standing tall and confident. "Good morning," she began, her voice calm but commanding. "For those who don't know, my name is Emily Harper. I founded this company." The room fell silent. Ryan's smug expression faltered, replaced by a mix of shock and indignation. "This is some kind of joke," he scoffed. "You're a janitor. What's the meaning of this?" Emily met his gaze evenly. "I've spent the last several months observing how this company operates. What I've seen is a betrayal of the values I built it on." She turned to Monica, who was visibly uncomfortable. "You've belittled employees, fostered a culture of fear, and turned this place into a shadow of what it once was." And Ryan, her eyes narrowed. "Your corruption and misconduct have gone unchecked for far too long." Ryan laughed, though the sound was hollow. "You can't be serious. You think you can just waltz in here, Anne?" "Enough," Emily interrupted, her voice sharp. "I have all the evidence I need. Effective immediately. You're both fired. Security will escort you out." The color drained from Ryan's face as security entered the room. Monica stammered, her arrogance replaced by desperation. "You can't do this." It's already done," Emily replied, her tone resolute. As they were led out, Emily addressed the remaining employees. "To those who've acted with integrity, you have nothing to fear. But for anyone who has contributed to the toxicity here, know that change is coming. This company will thrive again, built on respect, fairness, and accountability." Her words hung in the air, the weight of them sinking into the hearts of those present. Emily had taken the first step in reclaiming her company, and there was no turning back now. In the days following Emily's dramatic return, the atmosphere at Greenwood and Associates began to shift. The employees who had grown accustomed to the toxic culture carried a mix of uncertainty and hope. Change was brewing, but it wasn't without resistance. Emily wasted no time implementing her plan. She called a series of all-staff meetings to outline her vision for the company. She spoke of accountability, fairness, and rebuilding the trust that had been lost under the previous leadership. Her words resonated with many, but not everyone was on board. One afternoon, during a meeting with senior managers, a longtime executive named Douglas raised his hand. He had been at the company since its inception and was known for his conservative approach. "Emily," Douglas began, his tone respectful but skeptical, "I understand your intentions. But don't you think this sudden shift might alienate some of our clients? They're used to a certain image of this company." Emily met his gaze, unflinching. "Douglas, our clients value results, not the arrogance that has plagued this place. If we focus on delivering exceptional work while fostering a culture of respect, we won't lose them. In fact, we'll gain their trust and loyalty." Her response was met with a mix of nods and cautious glances. Emily knew change wouldn't come overnight, but she was prepared for the challenge. She had faced adversity before and had no intention of backing down now. As the days turned into weeks, Emily made it a point to connect with employees at every level. She walked the halls, engaging with the junior consultants and support staff who had once been ignored. She wanted to hear their stories, their frustrations, and their ideas for improvement. One such conversation was with Maya, a receptionist who had witnessed the worst of the previous leadership. Maya had been on the receiving end of Monica's sharp tongue more times than she could count and had once considered quitting. "I just want to feel like I matter here," Maya admitted hesitantly during a one-on-one with Emily. Emily nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You do matter, Maya. And I'm sorry you've been made to feel otherwise. That changes now." Emily took Maya's concerns to heart. implementing initiatives to recognize and celebrate the contributions of every team member. From monthly staff shout-outs to professional development opportunities, Emily was determined to rebuild morale and foster a sense of belonging. Meanwhile, the fallout from Ryan and Monica's departure continued to ripple through the company. The internal investigation Emily had ordered uncovered more instances of financial misconduct and abuse of power. Several additional senior managers were let go, their departures serving as a stark reminder that no one was above accountability. Emily's cousin Luke, who had served as CEO in her absence, worked closely with her to steer the company through this turbulent time. Though he had been unaware of the full extent of Ryan and Monica's behavior, he was quick to take responsibility for his own lapses in oversight. "I should have seen it sooner," Luke admitted during one of their late-night strategy sessions. "I got too comfortable. And I let things slide." Emily placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "What matters is that you're here now, ready to help fix this. We'll do it together." As Greenwood and Associates began to stabilize, Emily turned her attention to the company's clients. She personally reached out to many of them, explaining the changes and reaffirming the firm's commitment to excellence. Her transparency was met with an overwhelmingly positive response. One client, a prominent tech company CEO, expressed admiration for Emily's leadership. "It's rare to see someone take such decisive action," he said during a call. "You've earned our respect, and we're excited to continue working with you." Emily felt a surge of pride but knew there was still much work to be done. She wasn't just rebuilding a company, she was redefining its legacy. One evening, as she walked through the now quieter office, Emily paused by the window, gazing out at the city skyline. The weight of the journey she had undertaken settled on her shoulders, but so did a sense of purpose. The storm had passed, but the road ahead was long. Yet, for the first time in years, she felt confident that Greenwood and Associates was on the right path, a path grounded in integrity and respect. As the evening descended over San Francisco, Emily sat in her office, the skyline reflecting the city's enduring resilience. The once toxic halls of Greenwood and Associates now pulsed with a renewed sense of purpose. Employees, inspired by her leadership, began embracing the core values of respect and integrity that Emily had reinstated. The transformation wasn't just about business, it was about people realizing their worth and the power of collective respect. Looking at a photo of the company's early days, Emily smiled, her heart filled with quiet pride. This was no longer the same firm where arrogance and greed thrived. Greenwood and Associates was now a place of innovation and inclusivity, a testament to her determination. As she closed her laptop, her thoughts turned outward. Change starts small, but its ripples are endless. Subscribe to Life Stories for more tales of resilience, transformation, and hope.